Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of June 22nd, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here, and a very, very happy summer solstice to everybody out there. This is the point where there's the greatest light in the northern hemisphere, and I, for one, just love this time. Light is a metaphor for the light within us, really illumination. When I think about it, the ancient Greek god Apollo was the sun and was rationality, but also prophecy. And so I love that that culture made that connection. And I do think that this is a time when all of us are asked to really bring light, more of our own light into the world, to own more of our own light as well, and also asked to bring light wherever it is that we are inspired to. So I wish all of you out there increasing light, whether it's a lightness of being where you feel less burdened, or if it's greater clarity that you want. I wish you all those things and so much more. This week we have Venus moving into the sign of Gemini, and I am so encouraged by this because to me, this really represents seeing with eyes of love. And considering that we have Mercury retrograde now moving through the sign of Gemini, or having returned to Gemini, sort of beginning its last week, last few days in the sign of Gemini, I think that this is really a perfect symbol for seeing things again with the eyes of love. And I do think that where maybe before we were seeing things, we thought we saw it accurately, we were making plans, we thought we were being balanced. This is a time for us to understand that love really is what matters most. Love really is the truth. And it is from that perspective that things become clear. And so Mercury returning to Gemini does represent clarity. And given that late last week we did have Sun and Mercury meeting, so this light bulb moment effect happening, you add Venus to this whole mix, and to me this suggests a time when it isn't just about that clarity, but it's also about bringing heart into it, understanding that when you create the intention of healing, of presence, of softness, of love, then you do tend to see more evidence of that as well. So all of us will be asked to look again and look with greater kindness. In the middle of the week, we have a truly rare phenomenon. Once every 2 years or so, Mars stands across the sky from Uranus. And this pretty much always represents a notable moment, a notable turning point, even, if you will. And this pretty much always does suggest a time when we are getting really, we're sort of getting these, some people may call it inspirations, for some might be inspirations. For others, it may come across a little bit differently. The inspiration may be visited in ways that are provoking or provocative, are the kind that sort of take us by surprise. This is ultimately about emotions, strong feelings arising. You may think they're arising out of nowhere, but that's not quite likely. And things sort of coming to the surface in a very undeniable way. This is truth wanting to be known. And this is you facing or looking at what it is ultimately that needs to change if you are going to step into who it is that you've been created to be instead of who you've been conditioned to be, to borrow the words of Jeff Green. And so when I look at this conversation taking place, if a person is not bringing a high level of consciousness to the chart, and I've talked about this many times, the level of consciousness you bring to the sky determines how that sky is experienced. And this has been said again and again by a lot of our great contributors to astrology, the great grandfathers, grandmothers, godfathers, godmothers of our practice going way back have talked about this again and again. The level of consciousness you bring to the sky will determine how that is experienced. A person bringing a high level of consciousness to this moment, to this week, is likely to have an undeniable truth looking at them thanks to another person, an interaction leads them to look at themselves in the mirror and realize what it is ultimately that they're really going for, what it is ultimately that they need in the deepest way, and where it is that change has to happen right now. And they're going to take ownership for that and take action in that direction. Someone not so enlightened, okay, this conversation, in all honesty, I mean, this conversation can bring an attraction of people maybe who are not so nice. I don't think that's highly likely. And I say that mainly because we do have Venus moving into the sign of Gemini, and that alone brings a softness and a smoothness to communications and conversations. So that should be incredibly helpful to all of us. However, it is a possibility that this would bring up, and you know, I have to be really honest, this is Mars and Uranus. So Mars is associated with machinery. It is associated with cars even, and Uranus is sort of these, you know, random occurrences. And so, of course, you know, right away you can see, just take extra care while driving, be extra patient. Do bring a level of love and patience to the best of your ability when you are commuting, when you are driving. Create that intention that you are going to move through this road and move through this with an absolute energy of love and understanding, and you will find that your journey goes amazingly smooth compared to people who maybe don't set that intention. So just hold that intention, and that is what you will manifest. What we also have happening this week is a new moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, on social media, I have been talking about something that I've noticed that I find really interesting. In the last half of 2012, we had all the new moons that took place in the sort of later parts of their sign. So in the last, what astrologers call degrees, but basically in the later part or in the ending part of a given sign, in the last days of a sign, if you will. We had these particular new moons taking place in 2012. And so 2012 did have sort of this energy, this air of endings, right? It was the end of the Mayan calendar. All of us were preparing for this on some level or another, knowing that a shift is coming up, a cultural shift. And then the solstice hit and we entered this new phase, this new age that had been prophesized. And then 2013, I found that people were sort of like getting used to the shift and really creating space, understanding what they were going to take into their new phase of their life, the new era, their personal new era. And now we're in 2014. And what I find so interesting is that we are having, and again, right until the end of the year, we are having a series of new moons taking place, and all of these new moons are happening at the very beginning of their signs. And that includes the new moon in Cancer that takes place this week. And I find this so interesting and so encouraging, because to me, this does represent that a lot of us are really beginning again. And the beginning is not necessarily marked by what is ending, but the beginning is marked by an understanding of what you want to move towards. It's about stepping into a new energy wherever it is happening, wherever this phenomenon, wherever the new moon is taking place for you, you are going to be asked to step into a new energy and understand that there's a path ahead to really develop this area of life, but we'll be willing, as part of understanding that we are now walking a new road. So to me, this is so encouraging. I love this, because to me, this does suggest that this moving into a new age, the personal process of it, is going to become more and more apparent to more and more of us out there. Well, this is a moment where I say thank you so much, and I am going to say, if you want to skip ahead to your sign, please click on the timestamp in the YouTube description, and that should jump you ahead to your sign, the timestamp next to your sign. I'm truly so grateful for your interactions. I have been creating these special series videos where I answer your questions. I so appreciate your questions, your interaction, so please feel free to comment here. I appreciate so much you sharing these videos as well. A lot of new people have been finding me on social media saying that they found me thanks to people sharing, and I'm truly so incredibly grateful for your trust and your questions and just the positive energy you bring into into my life. Thank you. I know some of you like to ask more personal questions related to your chart. If that is something you are looking for, please consider a personalized horoscope where I can do just that for you. But again, just you being here and you watching, really it is everything. And I am so grateful to in some way be a part of your sacred journey. So how all the celestial phenomenon this week is speaking to you in your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. Well, it is your ruling planet Mars that will be standing across the sky from Uranus, and Uranus currently in your sign. I mean, this really represents a breakthrough for you, a breakthrough on a level of mind, of understanding, especially where it comes to love. Now, I do see you having a moment with somebody else that leads you to say, oh wow, this is what I've attracted, and having an understanding as to why you are in the current dynamic that you are in. So if you're in an established bond, this is going to be sort of an awareness, you know, a surprise from a partner that makes you go, oh, okay, this is who you are. Interesting. And those of you who are not currently in an established bond, I mean, this should bring some sort of interaction, some sort of attraction that leads you to understand more fully just who you are in love, what it is, who it is that you want to be in the context of a partnership. And this should be sort of a motivating force, if you will. And I also think that this is going to represent an important culmination moment. So as I've been sharing, really you are, and in the July horoscopes, which should be up right around the beginning of this week, so right around the time that you're receiving this weekly horoscopes, the monthly horoscopes should be up. And I do think that the themes I talked about in the July horoscopes for you, particularly in the love videos, but this whole idea of the things that you've been meant to learn as Mars has been spending an extended cycle in your opposite sign, really a lot of that learning is going to start to come together now. So Mars has actually been in this dance, swimming across from Uranus again and again. Very rare, right? Very, very rare, but is doing this sort of last conversation that he's going to have for another 2 years. And this is really sort of one of the last really pieces, gifts of the long-term lessons that you've been asked to embrace where it comes to love, and the understandings you've been asked to cultivate where it comes to love start to come together powerfully this week. Hello, fabulous Taurus. Well, your ruling planet will leave your sign this week, enter the sign of Gemini, and this is where you are going to get some very interesting insights into your financial picture. And it's not just about insights, but also I am seeing opportunity. After all, Venus is a blessing, right? She is a planet that brings blessings. True, not as big as blessings as Jupiter would, however, still important. And so with Venus moving into the part of the sky for you that has to do with finances, you can expect some increase in financial flow, in money flowing your way. The opportunity even to do more so that you can generate more income, do more so that you can provide for yourself and those that you are responsible for. And for some of you, this is likely going to manifest in ways that are more personal, that have to do with you maybe in the process of doing what you need to do to make your money. You meet somebody really awesome that you connect with, whether you connect with them on a friendship level or a romantic level. This could also be an understanding or a connection taking place in terms of the work you do and just how much you love it, and aligning how your love and what it is ultimately that you feel called to do on a level of heart, and how it is that you actually create greater prosperity for yourself. There is nothing that will attract abundance as much as love, the energy of love. And whether you call it gratitude, whether you call it just appreciation, that's what you're going to be asked to cultivate now. And if you do, if you take that opportunity, you're going to find yourself almost instantly rewarded with greater prosperity. Hello, fabulous Gemini. Well, Venus is going to move into your sign this week. Always a really awesome time, I have to say. It does tend to represent a time when you are just hotter. You are just recognized as being more attractive than maybe you usually do. Even the most attractive of us have our moments, I'm sure. So I've heard, have our moments when we feel more than other times. And I think this is actually true for just about everybody. You have times when you feel more in the groove than not. And Venus Venus moving into your sign certainly is going to be part of you feeling more in the groove of your life, feeling like you're able to attract a lot more attention. You just come across as more charming as well. People like what it is that you are presenting to the world. Also a really good time, I gotta say, for planning a makeover of any kind. So this Venus coming into your sign does tend to be good for expanding your wardrobe. If you are into it, cosmetics as well, hairstyles as well, all that stuff. So amping it up, improving it in a way that makes you feel like the best of you is shining forward is definitely worth the investment. Now, I did speak about this also at length in the monthly horoscopes as well, so you may want to have a look at that. But all in all, this energy will really, I mean, I spoke in the intro about seeing with the eyes of love, and this becomes 10 times more significant for you. Hello, fabulous Cancer. Well, it is a new moon in your sign. This is your personal new year starting now. Always a significant time, always, when there is a new moon in your sign. I would have spoken about this in the monthly horoscopes. You may want to watch those again, especially for this month, because it is that significant a moment for you. This is about you getting really honest within yourself about where it is that you wish to begin again, what it is that you wish to start, and planting those seeds. You will reap those seeds 6 months down the road, but this is a really important moment for you to really understand what it is ultimately you hope to cultivate, what you want to bring to fruition. The one way that you can really utilize this energy wisely is if there's anything that you are looking to start, that you want to start, begin it. Really do something, no matter how symbolic, no matter how small, to say, universe, I am going in this direction. You take that action, you take that small step, and you will find it ends up being very, very fruitful for you a little bit further down the road. Have the bravery, the intensity, the openness, the honesty to actually be honest with yourself about what it is that matters to you most in your heart of heart, and take one small action towards it, and you will find that the universe does reward you. Hello, fabulous Leo. Well, this week we have Venus moving into a very harmonious sign to yours, and this does signify a time when friendships really become a very sweet place to be. And in particular, I do look at how this time tends to represent when friends could become lovers, or taking it another way, your partner could become somebody that you confide in more, you understand more on a level of friendship. Does tend to suggest an ease going on with connecting with other people, being introduced to somebody who could end up being a partner thanks to a friendship as well. Also this week, because we do have this interesting conversation taking place between Uranus and Mars, as I spoke of in the introduction. And Uranus is the modern ruler of your opposite sign as well. And so, I mean, I look at these factors playing out together, and I can't help but feel that really the likelihood of you making a significant connection with somebody, perhaps quite by surprise, is there. The other thing is, I mean, as I see this, I just want to say, you just want to be a little bit mindful because of the position of how these things are playing out. Don't get into any sort of ideological conversations, if you will. There's really no point to it, because it's almost like I'm seeing the possibility for those of you who are open to meeting somebody new, you meeting somebody, and even if it's not romantic, but it's, you know, otherwise, you meeting somebody, you thinking, wow, this is a really cool person, this is amazing, and then you start talking about ideals or politics or religion or something like that, and there ends up being a conflict there, and really there's no need to even get into that energy. I mean, you can listen and allow people to be who they need to be and believe what they need to believe without taking it on. And ultimately, it's up to you to decide whether having this other perception around you and pursuing it further is going to enrich your life or not. It needn't be something bad. It can actually be something that ends up really inspiring your curiosity, should you allow it. Hello, fabulous Virgo. This week with Uranus and Mars speaking in areas of your chart that have to do with money and finances, it looks like financial talks are an important part of this week. And this can represent a time when you are granted a new lease, if you will. So some of you, it just might be a feeling like a check finally comes through, a settlement finally comes rather quickly, rather by surprise, enlivening you and making you feel like, okay, now I can really begin what it is that I want to start. For others of you, this may actually be a little bit more personal, where it feels like the support that you were hoping for, that you were seeking on a more emotional level comes through. And for others, I think this is going to play out in terms of you having to assert in some way what you believe that you are worth. And this ends up challenging you to look at yourself more expansively. And so there is going to be a need for you to sort of state very clearly, perhaps to another person, likely to another person, sort of justify what it is ultimately that you are asking for. So the energy ultimately, you know, I always share this because I believe this so much. Ultimately, the prosperity that you experience from a spiritual perspective, right? One way of understanding money is energy. And ultimately, the prosperity that you attract into your life is based on the value you believe is connected to what you are giving. So it's not about anyone else's assessment. It's about you, what you in your heart of hearts believe is the value of what you're giving. So if you believe that you're giving something very valuable in terms of energy into the world, then the universe will respond to that and will return greater prosperity to you, greater value to you. So this is going to be a moment where you are asked to really be clear and really demonstrate, this is what I believe I deserve. And this is what I believe is the value of what I'm giving into the world and what I'm putting out there. And so you're going to be asked to do that, possibly very spontaneously, quite by surprise as well. And if you can accept that, right, and just go with the flow, trust that the right words will come out. Venus moving through the sign of communication is going to help tremendously in this. It'll help all of us, really, helping all of us to find the right words. If you trust that you have that ability to really focus and come up with the right words, then you will find that you end up on a very positive end of this conversation, where you end up actually experiencing a financial boost. Hello, fabulous Libra. Well, this is Mars moving through your sign, sort of slowly but surely marching on in the last little bit of your sign. Over the course of this summer, in this early part of summer. And this is the last of 3 conversations that Mars has been having with Uranus. It is representative of an important time, a time when you are getting clear as to who you are, what love is going to mean to you, what partnership is going to mean to you, and how it is that your partner is a reflection of you. And where you like it, awesome, you want to strengthen that. But where you don't, ultimately it's about owning the work. It's about not making it about the other person, but understanding it's about you that is in this situation, because it is a reflection of something you believe about yourself. If you change yourself, then the whole love situation changes as well. It's sort of like an automatic thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the other person changes. Sometimes the other person changes, sometimes the other person leaves and a new person comes in. But ultimately, this is about you looking at yourself more clearly as reflected in the eyes of another and deciding whether or not you like it. Ultimately, Uranus is very up in the air. Uranus really can go either way. And so how you feel about what you see really could go either way. But I will say this, you've got Venus right now in a very harmonious position to you. Venus moving through fellow air sign and moving through a part of the sky that actually feels very comfortable for you. It has to do with really your sign is associated with beauty, but sort of the higher ideals of beauty. I spoke about last week, actually, this whole idea of celestial Aphrodite and earthly Aphrodite. So you are celestial Aphrodite as articulated by Socrates and written about by Plato. And so when I look at the position of Venus in your sky, it does suggest to me that you are really coming to an understanding of what your truth is, and finding a truth that really is very beautiful is ultimately the higher understanding of where Venus is right now, where Venus is touring your sky. And you add to this the fact that this conversation is taking place right to the heart of you, asking you to take ownership for the change and the love you wish to experience. And it makes for a week with a lot of faith and also a lot of motivation to make important changes. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This week we have a new moon taking place in fellow water sign Cancer, making this a time where you are starting fresh in a way that feels very organic, that feels very good to you. I really like this conversation playing out for you because what we have here is this particular new moon speaking with Neptune, also in water sign Pisces. And essentially, this is forming a very harmonious sort of what we call grand trine by sign anyway. So your sign is already lit up because of the placements you have there. If you're listening to the Scorpio horoscope, then you have your sun, moon, or rising sign in Scorpio. And you add to this, wherever that is for you, these two planets are speaking, creating a personal grand trine for you. To me, I find this incredibly encouraging because it does suggest to me that you are getting clear on what really matters to you, what it is ultimately your vision, what is ultimately your vision, what it is that you're hoping to manifest in a larger sense a little bit further down the road. And I do think that this is going to be a time of some major turning point taking place for you, where you understand what it is you're doing that's working for where it is ultimately you want to go and what isn't. Once you get clear on that, you're going to find your pathway towards what you really want goes that much smoother. You add to this the fact that you have got Venus moving through a part of the sky that has to do with deep change. It has to do with regeneration. It's a part of the sky that feels very right, very comfortable to you. And it does suggest that you are seeing what is lovable within you. You are seeing the best of you come forward. And at the same time, you are able to understand where you're headed and make changes accordingly. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Well, I really like the fact that Venus is moving through your opposite sign this week, because this to me does suggest an important turning point for you where you understand the value of your relationship. You add to this the fact that we have Uranus continuing to move in a very harmonious place in the sky for you, a part of the sky that has to do with flirtation, that has to do with the feeling of love, especially new love and romance as well. And this part of the sky being lit up thanks to Mars having to do with energy, particularly attraction. Well, you put all this together and I mean, this has love and attraction written all over it. And so if you are attached to somebody, this can be a time when there is a deepening of understanding, sort of a spontaneous moment is likely to come up that allows you to feel that flutter of love again, to remember again what brought you to this person, and also to have that connection, a sweetness, an emotional exchange that helps you to reconnect with them more deeply and remember all the blessings that are in your life thanks to your partner. Those of you who don't have somebody in your sphere, you're very, very likely to meet somebody right about now. I do think at the very least there's likely to be some flirtation that reminds you just how amazing love can be if you give it a chance. I also think as I look at this that because, as I said in the intro, Venus is ultimately about blessings. The chance of you welcoming blessings into your life thanks to a partner are also there as well. So whether this is romantic or business, it is a partner now who facilitates you receiving some type of boon, some type of bonus that really does very well for you. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. This week we have this new moon taking place in your opposite sign. Now, I would have spoken about this in the monthly horoscopes. Really important time for you where it comes to love. Now, it does look like, and again, I spoke about this at length in the monthly horoscopes. I certainly would have, because it is a very significant turning point for you, a new beginning for you. And, you know, I do think when you have a new moon in your opposite sign, especially a new moon like this, speaking with Neptune and speaking with Pluto, Pluto, chances are there is going to be somebody there with whom there's some interest. There's a spurring on, if you will, of some type happening there. And I do think that some important lessons or understanding of where you need to begin again are going to be facilitated thanks to love. What I really also like about this week is that there is the promise of, or the potential of, meeting somebody in the work sphere as well. And that's because Venus is moving into a part of the sky for you that has to do with your work environment, or it could have to do with your gym as well, the places you frequent sort of on a daily basis, as part of taking the best of care of you. So for some of you, that's going to be the work environment. For others, it could be in the gym environment, but it seems like that's a place where a lot of romance is happening. And so if you are somebody who's in an established bond, this just could be you two sort of having an idea that, hey, why don't we do this project together? Why don't we work together in this way? Other than that, it could actually be, if you're open to meeting somebody new, you sort of having a connection or making a connection with somebody in a romantic sense in the work sphere as well. But whatever it is, really, when there's a new moon in your opposite sign, important lessons as to what you need to do to move love towards you tends to be in focus. So welcome the opportunity now to learn about yourself in the context of seeing yourself reflected in the eyes of another. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. Well, Venus is moving into a very harmonious position for you. And this is a part of the sky that has to do with romance, flirtation. It has to do with feeling the joy of love and creation as well. And this could be a time when you are really feeling like a big kid, if you will. Some of you, that means feeling like a teenager again in love. For others of you, this is going to be like hanging out with children, actually, playing with children. But there is this very youthful, kind of vibrant energy there that can manifest in a lot of different ways. What we also have happening for you this week is Uranus, your ruling planet, standing across the sky from Mars. I think this is so significant. This is so important. And the reason I say this is because when it's your ruling planet, as I've said before, it is your representative in the sky, your modern ruler, being activated by Mars. You have been going through this ongoing process since the start of the year with Mars opposite your ruler, dancing across with your ruler across the skies. And this tends to suggest that, and I do think this is going to be a moment where you really see your partner more clearly. This is a moment where you say, okay, this is what I have. And is this something I want to keep going with? Is this something that I like? And really, it could go either way. But I do think it's actually going to go really well. And I think this is actually true for all air signs this week in particular. I think it's going to go really well. And I say this because we've got Venus in such a harmonious position to you, in a position that has to do with, as I said, love and flirtation and romance. And then you add to this with this conversation sort of triggering moment of insight, moment of understanding, taking responsibility for where you are in relationships, understanding where it is that you need to change if you're going to move towards greater love and greater joy as well, and actually doing what needs to be done to make those changes. So a small percentage of you may experience sort of a break in a relationship, but I think the overwhelming majority of you actually are going to find yourself sort of catapulted towards another person, whether this is the person that you're already with and a deepening of that bond takes place like very quickly, rather instantly, or whether it is you meet somebody new and connect with somebody new and you feel like just very drawn to them, very propelled towards them. Communication is going to play an important part of this as well. And so if it's a new person, it might be somebody that you end up meeting online or through some other form of communication like that. But if you're in an established bond, again, this might be like a text message that comes through that lets you know that you are much more adored than you previously realized. Hello, fabulous Pisces. Well, this week there is a new moon taking place in a very harmonious position to your sign and fellow water sign Cancer. You add to this new moon is speaking to Neptune in your sign. Now, I spoke about this at length in the monthly horoscopes. rather than go through it again, talk about it, say the same things again, I do want to say that this is a time to really get in touch with what you want in love and romance, and what it is that you think love should feel like. There's an idealism with you now that you can nurture. Now, regardless of the reality, whether it pans out or not, is secondary. Right now, there's a lot of inspiration. I also do think that there's a lot of creative energy in the air for you, and this really could be a time when you touch on gold. This could be a time when you just hit something that is the key towards a project that ends up being tremendously rewarding. You add to this the fact that we've got this very interesting conversation taking place between Uranus and Mars, and it suggests to me that you are really talking things out where it comes to your finances. So there is a financial conversation set to take place, a financial conversation that is going to come up rather spontaneously, that makes you say, okay, this is where my money ends and yours begins, where you may just in a minute find yourself in hot pursuit of some income, some money, some benefits you think that are yours. Well, trust the process, of course. Again, this is a new moon in a part of the sky that also has to do with sort of gambling, if you will. Again, because Neptune is involved, I'm not saying gamble, but I am saying trust your instincts, especially where it comes to any sort of financial dealings or conversations, and you may very well find yourself in a position of advantage. Thank you so much to all signs out there for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.